Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear devotees. Thank you for tuning in and joining us on the GBC SPT page. This is the first of the 8-day series that we have for the month of Kartik. And we have with us His Grace Jaya Jagannath Prabhu. Jaya Jagannath Prabhu has been practicing Krishna consciousness for over 2 decades. He was serving at the Chicago temple as a brahmachari for over 13 years. And now he has created an oasis in the heart of New York City as a leader of the wisdom department at the Bhakti Center. Being an devoted and talented musician, he brings Krishna consciousness in a very, very palatable way with songs, seminars, workshops to so many spiritual seekers and bhakti practitioners. It's such an honor to introduce you, Jaya Jagannath Prabhu, and we're so glad that you have made the time to come join us on this GBC Strategic Planning platform. So I invite you to please share what really association means and association, how it can help us in our practice of Krishna consciousness. Jaya Jagannath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thanks to the GBC SPT team for inviting me. That introduction, if you guys are going to go do some research on me, there may be a few inaccuracies there, so don't hold me to that standard too strictly. So I'm very grateful to be here and attempt to present the subject matter. Association is the key in Bhakti. I'll begin by offering a little Mangalacharna. The purpose of a Mangalacharna is to remove the obstacles to the performance of any task, such as the task of giving a class. It is also to offer obeisances or praise to one's Ishta Devata and to the great devotees, to empower one to be as conduit for the expression of the absolute truth. So we'll begin by this Mangalacharna first. Om Agyantamirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saritam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padhan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopeshya Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanjakalpaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhubirevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Janmadhyasya yatam vayati taratashtarteshvabhigyaswarat Tene brahma hridaya rati kavaye muyanti yasuraya Tejo vari mridham yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena satana rastu kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. Okay, Hare Krishna. So the topic is association is the key in bhakti. I actually thought it was a little bit of a different topic, and I prepared it a little bit of a different way. But we're going to try our very best to adjust the presentation to fit the subject matter. So association is the key in bhakti. So as many of you must be knowing, you must have heard, that the root cause of Krishna Bhakti entering into the life of a jiva, a conditioned soul, is the association of devotees. Oh, apologies. My computer's about to die. Didn't realize. Just putting the charger inside. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has told this thing and his instructions to Sanatana Goswami and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter 22. Mahaprabhu says there, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha Krishna Prema Janme Tena Punamukyanga. So Mahaprabhu says there, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Haya Sadhu Sangha, that the root cause of the birth of Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula, Mula means the root. So the root cause of the birth of Krishna Bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. And even after this Krishna Bhakti efflorescence into the state of prema, which is the goal of Krishna consciousness, prema bhakti, Mahaprabhu says, even after that, Krishna prema janme tenu punamukya anga. It is that sadhu sangha which means the chief anga. The word anga means like limb of practice, or in this case, the limb of perfection. Because it is in the association of devotees that Krishna consciousness is also relished. Krishna says this thing in Gita, Ma chitta magata prana bodhayanta parasparam, katayanta shamam nityam tujanti charamanti cha. In Chatu Shloki, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that of his devotees, they have given their life and their full consciousness to him. And bodhayanta parasparam, amongst one another, they are giving enlightenment on the topics of Krishna. And from that, to Janti Charamanticha, they experience satisfaction and pleasure or bliss. So that means in the association of devotees, this Krishna consciousness is relished, right? This verse from Gita is a comment on the Bhava Samanvita people. In the previous verse, Krishna says, Aham Sarvasha Prabhavo, Matasa Rampavartate, Iti Matva Bhajante Mam Buddha Bhava Samanvita. That those who know Krishna as the source of the material and spiritual worlds, because they hear from the Guru, Iti Mata, Bhajante Mam, they worship me, Buddha, and they are intelligent, and Bhava Samanvita, they develop the Bhava, which is the goal of Krishna Bhakti practice. It is this Bhav Bhakti. And so, commenting about these Bhava devotees, these devotees who have the Bhava, then he says of them that they relish Krishna consciousness in the company of one another. So the beginning, middle, and end of Krishna consciousness is really the sadhu sangha. Mahaprabhu is telling the beginning of it is sadhu sangha, and the apex of, even when the apex of Krishna bhakti is achieved, that is called prema, it is in that sadhu sangha that that love of God is relished. So in this way, association is the key to bhakti coming into the life of a jiva. It is the key to the jivas overcoming their obstacles in the development of the apex of devotion. And even after they develop the apex of devotion, it is that same sadhu sangha which allows them to relish Krishna consciousness. So the sadhu sangha is the key to the Krishna bhakti experience in the beginning, in the middle, and also in the end. So let us speak first about this in the beginning. So you may be aware, Rupa Goswami, he is given, well, we normally like to say he is given 9 elements of the Sadhana Krama. The word Sadhana Krama means the different stages in which bhakti efflorescence from sadhana to the sadhya. The word sadhana means practice, and the word sadhya means the attainment, the perfection. So how does bhakti go from sadhana to sadhya? How does that happen? So Rupa Goswami says that generally there are 9 stages of this bhakti. Adao Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya. This verse is very famous. He says in the beginning, Adao Shraddha, in the beginning there is faith. And after faith, there is Sadhu Sangha. And then after Sadhu Sangha, there is Bhajana Kriya. After that, stage 4, you can say Anartha Nivritti. Stage 5, called as Nishta Bhakti. Stage 6 is called as the Ruchi. Stage 7 is called as Asati. So these first 7 stages are within the realm of Sadhana Bhakti. And then there's the Bhava stage of Bhakti, and then there's the Prema stage of Bhakti. So Bhava is considered like the ray of the divine sun that is love of God. And Prema is the actual sun of love of God. So these are the general ways in which Bhakti manifests in efflorescences into the state of Prema. This is given by Rupa Goswami. So we normally tell these 9 stages are there, which I've just mentioned. And 7 of them are within Sadhana, and then 1 is Bhava, and then another one is Prema. So we like to say that actually there are 10 stages following Prabhupada's purport to these verses in his Nectar of Devotion, chapter 19. There's actually not 9 stages, but there's actually 10 stages. And this word adhau, the word adhau means in the beginning. So we don't normally translate that as a stage, but that adhau is also a stage. Adhau, Shraddha. So adhau is stage 1, and Shraddha is actually stage 2. Normally we say in the beginning there's Shraddha, so Shraddha is counted as stage 1. But actually that adhau is also a stage. That adhau in the beginning refers to sadhu sangha. So adhau means in the beginning there is sadhu sangha. And from that sadhu sangha, then Shraddha is coming. And then from that Shraddha, in order to grow it properly and in the right way, then again there is sadhu sangha. That is the 3rd stage. So there's 2 stages of sadhu sangha in this beginning of bhakti. Before you get the faith, and then the sadhu sangha after you get the faith. So the adhau, Shraddha, the adhau before you get the faith, the sadhu sangha before you get the faith, is what allows for bhakti to come into the life of a conditioned soul. Our commentators commenting on this word adhau mentions that somehow or other, one gets the chance to associate with devotees by their mercy, and specifically hear the Shastra from them. So associating with them and hearing Shastra from them. So what is Shastra? Shastra is nothing but the absolute reality and a sound formula. That same reality in a sound formula spoken by the pure devotee. Just like you may have heard this many times, that the name of Krishna and Krishna himself are not different. So that is true of all the sounds in the spiritual world. Normally in the material world, you have this vacha vachaka sambandha, which means that the relationship of the words to the object is that the words signify the object. So for example, you say apple. So the word apple is not the apple itself, but it is a signifier of the apple. So there is difference between the apple itself and the word apple. But in the spiritual world, the sounds that convey that reality don't just signify it in terms of this signifier relationship, but those sounds are actually non-different from the reality which they're signifying. So those who associate with that sound in a state of purity, they can have direct realization of that reality just by hearing the sound. For example, you may have heard the story of Punarik Vidyanidhi. So Punarik Vidyanidhi, he was a great devotee of Krishna, but he appeared outwardly to be a Vishayi. So the word Vishayi means a sense gratifier. So you know how Hare Krishnas are, we don't like those sense gratifier types. So at one point, Mukunda Datta, he was associate of Lord Chaitanya. So he asked Gadadhar Pandit, a very intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya, if he wanted to go see a Mahabhagavat, a great devotee of the Lord. So Gadadhar Pandit, he was renounced from birth. So he had a certain vision of the greatness, what maybe the greatness of a devotee looks like. So he was very happy to oblige. Yes, let us see a great devotee. So he took him to see Punarik Vidyanidhi, and Punarik Vidyanidhi was looking like Vishayi. He was like oiling his hair, looking at himself in the mirror. He was chewing the pan and spitting in the metal, spitting in the bowl made out of ashtadhatus. The 8 metals were there, very expensive bowl. In this way, he was being fanned by some servants. So in this way, he looked like a big Vishai, sense gratifier. So Gadara Pandit only thought inside of himself that this is not Mahabhagavad, this is Vishai. He didn't say anything, he only thought this thing. But then Mukunda Datta could make out the mind of Gadara Pandit, so he began singing one shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. Aho bhakyam sanakala kutam, jigam saya prayaya dapya sadvi, Gatem Datu Chitam Tatonyam Kambadayalum Sharanam Vrajema. Anyway, this verse is describing, this is Uddhava speaking to Vidura and glorifying Krishna. He is saying, how can I surrender to one more merciful than Krishna? Krishna is so wonderful that the sister of Bhagasura, her name was Putana, she had smeared her breast with the poison in order to kill Krishna. But because she had approached Krishna as a mother, Krishna reciprocated with her as a mother. And although he took out her life along with the poison, he gave her a position like a mother in the spiritual world. So how can I surrender to one more merciful than that? Here's someone who wanted to kill him, but because she appeared as mother, he responded as a child and gave her a position like mother in the spiritual world. So there can be no one more merciful than this Krishna. So this verse was recited by Mukunda Datta, Aho Bhakiyam Sadakalakutam. I've just heard it. You've also just heard the shlok. I don't think anything's happened to us. We're sitting here peacefully, no disturbance in the psyche due to the ecstasy. But when Pundarivadinidhi heard this sound, immediately he went into the ecstasy for 6 hours continuously. Started smashing everything around him and just was in a state of devotional love for 6 hours, just from hearing this one sound or this one shloka conveying that reality. So the reason for this is that the sound is not different from the reality that it conveys. So for great souls like Pundarivadinidhi, when they hear that shabda, then immediately they have darshan of that reality. And anyone who sees that reality, naturally, they go ecstatic. So this shabda coming from the pure devotees conveys that reality of the absolute truth. And those who associate with devotees who are filled with these divine sounds coming from their mouth, depicting that reality, because of the impurity of our heart, we're not able to have the same experience yet as Pundarivadinidhi. But immediately we gain the association of the absolute reality by hearing those sounds coming from the mouths of pure devotees. So this is the meaning of adhau. In the beginning, there's the association of devotees, and they're speaking about that reality, and they're employing various sounds to do so. And you hear those sounds that are coming from Shastra generally. And by association with those sounds coming from the mouth of the pure devotee, then stage 2, Shraddha, is born in the heart from the association of such devotees. That is the meaning there of the adhau in this verse by Rupa Goswami, adhau Shraddha tata sadhu sangha. There's also another nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is 10th canto, chapter 51, I think verse 53. So Mahaprabhu himself quotes this verse after making the point that the root cause of Krishna Bhakti is sadhu sangha. So he quotes Srimad Bhagavatam, 3 verses in order to establish his point. And the first of these verses is this one. Bhava pravargo brahmato yadha bhavesh janasya tarya chuta satsamangama satsangamo yadhita daiva sagitao paravareshe tvai jayate mati. So this translation, Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, chapter 51, verse 53. So it says here, this is Muchukunda. Muchukunda you all know, but one demon was there, Kalanimi, Kalayavanasura. Kalayavanasura, he was trying to kill Krishna, chasing Krishna. Krishna began running, and this Kalayavanasura began chasing Krishna. Krishna was actually walking. He wasn't even running. He was walking casually. And Kalyavanasura was running full speed, but somehow Krishna was out of reach because he is a dokshaja. A dokshaja means out of the reach of the senses. And so Kalyavanasura was not able to catch Krishna. Suddenly Krishna moved very fast into one mountain, and Kalyavanasura chased after him. When he entered the mountain, he saw one person there lying on the ground sleeping, which he thought was Krishna. So he kicked who he thought to be Krishna very hard, commanding him to fight with him. But instead of it being Krishna, it was Muchukunda. And when he was kicked, his eyes opened and incinerated Kalyavanasura because he had gotten some benediction from the Devotees that he wanted to sleep for a long time. And if anyone shall wake him from his sleep, then his glands should incinerate them. So you are knowing this as Muchukunda. After Kalyavanasura was incinerated, excuse me, Krishna appeared before Muchukunda, and Muchukunda began to offer many prayers. And this is one of the prayers that he offers. So this is a translation. So when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, okay, keep that in mind. When the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees. And when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of the devotees and the Lord of all causes and their effects. Okay, so generally the verse is saying here, Muchukunda is saying, when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, then he gets association devotees. But actually, from Bhakti Siddhanta, not Bhakti Siddhanta, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj, but according to the Siddhanta of our Bhakti tradition, it is the association of devotees that allows for the cessation of material life. Not that when somehow or other your material life ceases, then you get association. Actually, it is the reverse. So how Muchukunda is saying like this, when the material life is ceased, then you get association. So our acharyas have pointed out that this is a type of poetic ornament called Atishayokti. And there are different types of Atishayokti. And one of the types is that in poetry, when you want to express the power of a cause and specifically how efficient it is, or efficacious and efficient it is in giving the effect, then you will express the effect as the cause and the cause as the effect in order to show just how swiftly that effect is coming from that cause. It is basically a way of conveying the power of a cause to give the effect. So in order to, it's a sort of some poetry thing is there. So in order to do that, the cause is expressed as an effect to show that the effect is coming very fast. So the cause is sadhu sangha, and the effect is you become a devotee of Krishna. So in order to show that this cause of sadhu sangha is so powerful and so efficacious and giving the effect of giving awareness of Krishna. So the poetry is stated here by Muchukunda is stating the cause, which is sadhu sangha, as the effect to show how powerful and swiftly it acts. So that is the meaning there of that particular line. So it is actually when one gets the association of devotees, then their material life ceases. And from that association, right at the moment of that association, Yarhi Tadaiva Sagatao, Paravareshe Tvai Jayatemati. Right at the moment of that association, in that moment, there is the association of Bhagavan or God. In other words, the sadhus, they are carrying God in their heart. Tirta, what is this verse? Tirtani Bhutani Sa Gantastena Gadhabrita. I haven't quoted this verse in a long time. Nice verses there when the Vidura is visiting the Pandavas. He had left Hastinapur. He went on pilgrimage. I think he went on pilgrimage for something upward of like 30 years. He was gone for a very long time. And then finally he returns to Hastinapur to deliver his brother, Dhritarashtra. When he returns, Yudhishthira receives him very nicely and begins glorifying him. And one of the verses he states this thing here. Tirta Tirtani Bhutani Saranta Stena Gadabrita. Maybe I should look this verse. I may be butchering the Sanskrit there. Apologies. But he says that the sadhus, they are like walking tirthas. walking holy places. Usually we leave our places like Chicago or New York or wherever it is to go to the places of pilgrimage. You usually leave those places. But the sadhus, they are walking tirtha. So wherever they go, they turn that place into its tirtha. And why is that? Because they are always carrying the Supreme Lord in their heart. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, chapter 13. I think it's verse number 10. Yeah. Tirti kurvanti tirtani. Swa antastina gadabrita. Yeah. 132:10. So they're always carrying the Lord in their heart. So anyone who associates with them, right at the moment of association, they are also associating with Bhagavan. And therefore, anyone who comes in their association immediately gets awareness, or awareness of Bhagavan comes to them. You may have a question that doesn't happen in all cases, but that is another topic. Jiva Goswami covers that in Bhakti Center. But this point should be clear. The idea that we're expressing here is very simple. That the beginning of Krishna Bhakti in the life of the conditioned soul is sadhu sangha. Without this sadhu sangha, then no one can actually have access to the bhakti yoga. It's not possible. They will not spontaneously awaken the bhakti. They have to associate with a devotee for that bhakti to come to them. That is the only way. Therefore, Mahaprabhu is also saying, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai, Bhakti Lata Bija. So there, Mahaprabhu is saying that this Brahmanda Brahmite means when one is wandering all over the Brahmanda, the universe is called Brahmanda. It is like the universal egg, kind of like an egg, shaped like an egg, hard on the outside, inside hollow, and inside the hollow is the universe, which you can also call the hollow, because anyone who pursues anything in the universe shall feel hollow inside, isn't it? That's how we all also come here. Where inside the hard shell of the universe is the hollow universe, and anyone who chases after that universe, they shall feel hollow inside. So it's called Brahmanda. And Brahmite, the jivas are Brahmite. Brahmite means wandering all over this universe in different types of bodies, sometimes going up, sometimes going down to the lower species, or maybe to the hellish regions, going up to celestial species. Wandering all over the universe. What are you looking for? Wandering so much. What are you looking for? Looking for our own nature, actually, in the nature of God. We're looking for the immortal. We're looking for a state of immortalness. I should say immortality. I don't know if immortalness is a word in English. Immortality, fearlessness, and auspiciousness. And this is called Tripad Vibhuti in Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd Canto, the Tripad Vibhuti. Tripad Vibhuti means the spiritual reality characterized by these, you can say, dimensions of being. It is immortal, Amrita. It is fearless, Abhaya. And it is auspicious, Kshema. And this is the nature of spirituality. And the jivas, we are also like this. We also say Satchidananda. We also have a little bit of this nature as well. We exist eternally, so that is the Amrita feature. And we are aware. This is called Chit feature. That means we have the consciousness. Of course, our awareness is not Abhaya, because we are right now identified with the material apparatus, so we all the time feeling fear. But otherwise, our nature, our true nature, if we were aware of it, we would experience fearlessness. It's called Abhaya. And Kshema, the word Shema means Ananda, because what is the meaning of awareness without? The bliss. So this is Ananda. So we also have a little bit of that inside as well. So positive state. So Satchidananda, sometimes we say this thing. So the spiritual domain is like this: Amrita, Abhaya, and Kshema. Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd Canto. It's called Tripad Vibhuti. And this material world is called, the material world is called Ekpa Vibhuti. Ekpa Vibhuti means characterized by only one quality, which is death, mortality. And because of that one quality, certainly there's fear, and certainly there's inauspiciousness. So you don't have to mention the other two, the other counter opposites of the other two. So this Tripad Vibhuti, we are looking for this in the hollow universe, and therefore we're wandering here and there. And we go on wandering like this life after life after life, because we keep trying to find these things in the hollow material objects, but we are never successful because they do not exist in those objects. They exist to a partial degree in the soul and to the full degree in Bhagavan and Krishna. So we are ultimately looking for ourselves and looking for Krishna. That's the basic point. But we wonder, not knowing this, and finally, if we become Bhagyavan Jiva, we become fortunate, then by the mercy of Krishna, then the Guru, who is Guru but a sadhu, he comes into our life and he gives the Bhakti Lata Bija. It is that Guru who gives the Bhakti Lata Bija, the seed of faith. And then that is the start of your Bhakti life. So association is the key to the start of Bhakti. That is the point we were just trying to establish, okay? One point only. Now, second point, after you get the seed of Shraddha, Mahaprabhu is telling the Chaitanya Charitamrita, this is to his instructions to Rupa Goswami. So he says that you have to take that Bhakti Lata Bija and you have to sow it in your heart. And you have to water that seed with the water of Shravanam and Kirtanam. So Shravanam from whom? Kirtanam with whom? That is also from the sadhu only. Shravana means to hear from, you have to hear from sadhu. You can say hear from Shastra also. We also said like that, right? Nasha Prayesh Abhadrishu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. There should be Bhagavat Sevaya. And Bhagavat Sevaya means there should be service to the Bhagavata, Nitya, every single day. And if you become more advanced moment to moment, but otherwise at least daily. So there's two types of Bhagavatas, the book Bhagavata and person Bhagavata. And the book Bhagavata, ultimately you have to hear the book Bhagavata from the person Bhagavata. And in that way you do service to these two types of Bhagavata, and that is the water by which you can nourish the seed of your bhakti. So you should water it. That requires sadhus. That means in order for this seed that was gifted to you by sadhu, in order for it to grow, then sadhus are required to grow it. You say, I can water it myself. No, you cannot water yourself. The water is also coming from the sadhu. So that is required for this bhakti to reach its potential, to efflorescence is the word I like to use, from its beginning state to its the perfected state. So that water is coming from sadhu. So this means in the interim period between when you get bhakti and from when you get bhakti and when you achieve the goal of bhakti, which is prema, which is bhakti itself, but a more condensed form of it, then the sadhus are required for that in the middle stage as well. And now there's this one stage that is called as the anarcha nivritti. Well, let me say this thing first. So then Mahaprabhu says you water it, and you should also put one fence around this garden of devotion that you're making. You should put one fence. So what is that fence? So that is also described by Srila Prabhupada Acharyas. The fence is the sadhu sangha. So as the sadhus who will protect this fence or protect this garden, protect it from whom? So there are many ways you can say this, but I like to say it like this sometimes. To protect the garden from ourselves. Right now, we are functioning in the material world as conditioned jivas with the upadi. So the upadi means this sort of false imposition of self given by Maya. You're like, the example of upadi is given. The jiva is like a crystal. And you can say like this, jiva like a crystal. And if you put a red flower in front of the crystal, then the crystal appears to be red. Actually, the crystal is not red. The crystal is clear. But it appears to be red when the red flower is in front of it. So that redness of the crystal is called the upadi of the crystal. So similarly, as conditioned jivas, we have these upadis of material bodies. And because of these upadis, some of us have birth amongst devatas, some amongst asuras, some of us among rakshasas and animals and so on. We all have different types of upadis. So we have our different personalities. Some aspects of it is anukula, maybe favorable for bhakti. And many aspects, especially in this age of Kali, is pratikula, not very favorable for bhakti. And so we receive this creeper by divine grace, and this garden begins to grow. Also, that is by divine grace. But then we have to keep ourselves around sadhus to protect that garden from destruction. Because of the upadis that we jivas have, we have tendency to do things that will destroy our garden of bhakti. Actually, you cannot destroy it fully, but you can trample it really badly. So Mahaprabhu gives one example. We may do the Vaishnava aparad. So why we do Vaishnava aparad? That is because we identify with the body. That is the only way you can do Vaishnava aparad. What is this verse is there? Rupa Goswami is saying, Drishta swabhava janitar papushashta doshtar napakritatam iha bhakta janasha pashat. So he is telling that don't look at devotees from the material point of view in terms of their swabhava and janita. Swabhava janita and vapu, in terms of their physical form called the vapu, and their swabhava. Swabhava janita means like their nature. I like to say their idiosyncrasies or personality traits. Don't look at devotees from that eye only, because if you see them only from that eye, you'll commit the offense. And we have tendency to do that because we see ourselves as material body. We look at ourselves in terms of our vapu and swabhava. So as you see yourself, you see others. Atmava manyate jagat. So because we objectify ourselves, we objectify others, and then we have tendency to commit offense. Mahaprabhu gives that example. But even if you don't commit offense, because of the upadis, we have all sorts of other issues, right? Generally, we call this as anartha, the anartha problem. So we have lust, a big problem. Anger, greed is there, a big problem. All these problems come up because of identifying with the body. Yaya samohita jiva atmanam shrigunatmakam paropi manyate anartam takritan chabipatite. It is mentioned in Samadhi's Vyasa Samadhi. He saw the jiva bewildered by Maya. And what was that bewilderment? Atmanam shrigunatmakam. That bewilderment was the upadi was put on the jiva, that even though he's paropi, even though he's superior to matter, he thinks himself or she thinks himself as a product of matter. And this is called as anartha. So once you think like that, then the fun begins. All the other sufferings come from that anartha. So this anartha is what we kind of identify with, actually. And so we've received the Bhakti Creeper. It is starting to grow. We received the Bhakti Creeper from sadhus. It is starting to grow because of the association of sadhus. And now we have to take refuge of the sadhus to protect that garden from ourselves. Specifically here, I mean from our anarthas, by which we will destroy the good graces that has come into our life. We have profound tendency, especially nowadays because of the social media. And everyone lives mostly on the social media, especially with the lockdown. And on social media, because of the impersonal nature of it, you can commit all sorts of offenses so easily. Because of your upadi, all of us have tendency, we identify with our body. Someone says something very mean to us, we get upset. So we want to write an article about them, or we just respond something nasty on the Facebook or whatever it is, or write some article. And that way we commit so many offenses, and then that creeper is destroyed. So if you don't keep yourself in good sadhu sangha, then how your garden will be protected? Then it will be wide open to the anarthas, and then it will be strangled, and your ability to make progress will be stopped. There's no possibility of making the progress without the sadhus. So that means that sadhu sangha is required to destroy the anartha. So Samadhi Vyasa in his Samadhi, he also sees this thing. The jiva's afflicted with anartha. But how to get rid of this anartha? Anartha upashaman saksha bhakti yoga adokshaje. Right? So he says by the anartha upashama, the destruction or mitigation of the anartha happens by direct bhakti yoga, saksha bhakti yoga adokshaje. It happens by bhakti yoga. But these sadhus are an aspect of bhakti yoga, right? Because we said bhakti has these 9 stages in the beginning of the class, right? Shraddha, sadhu sangha, bhajan, kriya, nartha-vritti, and so on. So the sadhus are also one part of this bhakti yoga. So that means by the association of sadhus, anartha upashama, then there can be mitigation of this anartha. And there's so many beautiful verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam on this, but I don't have that much time. So we only share one verse. So this verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Chapter 5. Prahlad Maharaj's father, he wanted to know from where you've become Krishna conscious. He asked in a very nasty way, but it was a very good question. He wanted to know how you become Krishna conscious. So first, Prahlad Maharaj says, don't worry, people like you, who are griha vratanam, they're determined to be materialistic, and they have uncontrolled senses, adanta gober, they're gliding to the hell and showing that which has already been true. They will not become Krishna conscious by their own efforts, by the efforts of others, or by a combination. Actually, people, they do not know that Vishnu is the real self-interest of their life. They have bad hearts, mental quantum, they're always into the external world. So they follow blind leaders, and then they are themselves blind, they follow blind leaders, and then they fall into the ditch and they're completely captured by Maya. So they not become Krishna conscious. So how you become Krishna conscious? That is the question. So then this answer is given by Prahlad Maharaj. Oh, I don't know how to shoot this. Anyway, he says this verse, very famous verse. Naishamati stavat arukramangrim sprashartanarta pagamo yadarta Mayasham padarajobhishekam niskinjananam navranita yavat. So niskinjananam navranita yavat. Unless one takes the Mahiyasham padarajo abhishekam, unless one performs the abhishekam, like we put over the deities, the ghee and the milk. So you should do the abhishekam of your mati, of your consciousness or your intelligence, with the dust of the dust coming from the feet of sadhus, niskinchananam, who have no other desire other than to please Krishna. Then what is the result of that? This is why I brought this verse up. If you shall do that, then there shall be anartha apagama. Anartha apagama means the disappearance of all your anarthas will go if you shall do that. But if you don't do that, then there is no way for you to develop this bhakti, because the anartha problem will stop you from doing anything. So this means that in the period from where you get bhakti until where you achieve the goal, that sadhu sangha is the key, right? So now we've made 2 points. Association is the key to bhakti in the beginning, and association is the key to bhakti in the middle. And then Mahaprabhu is saying, also when you achieve perfection, the prema bhakti, then it is that association that remains so mukhya anga, because only in that sangha are you able to relish the different moods of devotion. Just like in the Rasa Lila pastime, for example, Krishna disappears from the scene, and then Gopi Geet is sung, right? And that singing, even before the Gopi Geet is sung, the gopis are acting out the pastimes of Krishna with one another, imitating Krishna, singing songs and glorifying Krishna. They do Gopi Geet together. And in that way, they're actually relishing Krishna consciousness because of one another's sangha. So many examples can be given of this. So this association is the key to bhakti and the end also. So let there be sadhu sangha. The Mahaprabhu is saying, and I think this may also come as Sanatana Siksha, or asat sangha tiyaga e Vaishnava achar, that the behavior of a Vaishnava is that he gives up asat sangha. So our asat sangha in this age of Kali has expanded a lot because of the phone. Now we can do so much asat sangha. In that way, our bhakti is finished, arrested, or perhaps even destroyed. Rupa Goswami says, he used the word vinashati. Shabir bhakti vinashati. Atyahara prayasas cha prajalpa niyamagra. Jana sangha chaloyam cha. Shabir bhakti vinashati. He says one of the destroyers of bhakti is jana sangha, which means this asat sangha. What is the asat sangha? Mahaprabhu mentions 3. Shri sangha and Krishna abhakta. So Stri Sangha means the association of the object of sexual desire. That Sangha really can do your bhakti and finished. And then there's Krishna Bhakta. The other type of Sangha is simply one who is not a devotee. That is their only bad quality. They may have all the other good qualities, but if they're not a devotee, also bad association. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavat kinchana sarvaiganais tatra samasate sara harava bhakta shukuto mahaguna manorite nasato dhavato. Srimad Bhagavatam is saying, if one is a kinchana bhakta, that means pure devotee. They have all the good qualities, but one who is not a devotee, he has no good qualities because he's on the mental platform. Anyway, not going so much detail on this verse because my time is up. But basically the point is, a satsanga is not very good. Not only is it not very good, it's worse than not very good, it's destructive. Rupa Goswami is quoting one verse, I forget from what literature, but he quotes it in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that it would be better to be devoured by a sea monster or to be trapped in a cage with tigers surrounded by fire than to associate with non-devotees. Very heavy things. The Shastra are very heavy about this. But you cannot live in a vacuum. So to not do a satsanga means to do the sadhu sangha. That is very good. So there's so many different levels of devotees, and some devotees are not, we criticize certain sadhakas because we live around devotees. Also, we say this fellow is not, what is this? I know so many non-devotees better than this devotee in terms of their behavior and character. We think like this also. So that is, you have to evaluate your mentality when you're saying these things. There are nice verses there. Tulayama lavenapi naswargana punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kem utashisha. So even a moment's association of a Bhagavat Sangi, someone who has Krishna, a devotee, is greater than the attainment of Swarga. Not greater. It wouldn't be right to compare the attainment of Swarga or the attainment of Sayuja Mukti, the liberation, to even a moment's association with a devotee. So you may say, oh, that means pure devotee, high level. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this refers to a sadhaka even. Even the association of a sadhaka is vastly superior than the attainment of swarga or apavarga, liberation. What then to speak of prolonged association with a sadhaka? What then to speak of association with a bhavuka devotee? What then to speak of association with a premika devotee? So, of course, what type of sadhaka? We already mentioned there are different stages. So the sadhaka should also be mature. So sometimes we see immature sadhaka. Not sometimes, maybe we're seeing a lot of the time the immature sadhaka. So we get this idea, oh, what is the problem? These non-devotees are also good. No. If we do the satsanga, then we arrest the growth of our bhakti. They'll not be able to grow. So you have to find out the proper sangha for you. It's called Sajatiya Sangha. Srimad Bhagavatam Artanam Aswado Rasikisaha Sajatiya Ashesh Nigde Sadhu Sangha Tatovare. I think this is the verse. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Then you do the association of Sajati means someone is like-minded. Prabhupada is translating this. Sajati means of the same class or family. They're like-minded. You have to taste the meanings of the Bhagavatam. Ideally, with a rasika, means a poet, someone who really understands the poetry of Srimad Bhagavatam. And they're like-minded and affectionate. You find your sangha. It's not so easy all the time. And you do that sangha because we cannot exist in a vacuum. But somehow that we have to give up the asat sangha, otherwise destroyed. Or I can say it in another way also. If you get the proper sadhu sangha, then asat sangha will be destroyed. That is also a verse. Anyway, no time. Nice verses coming from Jada Bharata to Maharaj Rahugana. If you get the sadhu sangha, then asat sangha will be destroyed. And then your bhakti can progress nicely to perfection. And when it progresses to perfection, then you also enjoy nicely bhakti. So finally, my last point here, since I passed the time now, that association is the key in bhakti, in the beginning, in the middle, and also in the end. That's what I've tried to establish in a very crude way. I didn't really prepare nicely for the class, so I did the best I could. So we're going to stop there, and it looks like there are some questions, so I guess we can try to take the questions now.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So many wonderful points that you brought out, and we're constantly validating it with Shastra, which is really, really appreciated. So we do have quite a few questions. I'm just going to pick a few relevant ones just because of the shortage of time.
Okay.
Really appreciate everyone participating so actively and hearing us and, asking so many wonderful questions. So one of the question is, what is the difference between association before Shraddha and after Shraddha? And how does our association evolve?
Yes. Wow, that's a very good question.
It is a beautiful question.
So before Shraddha, you are in the complete ignorance, right? We are alienated from the awareness of our own self nature and alienated from the awareness of God. This is called Bhagavad by Mukhya. We don't know ourselves, and we also don't know God. So before Shraddha, you hear from sadhu. They give you an intuition about the reality that is yourself and that is God. And they draw interest in you to move toward that reality. So that is what is the meaning of Shraddha. Basically, the meaning of Shraddha is that you become convinced to turn toward the reality. Because our problem right now is we're turning away from it. So Ishara Petasha means we're turned, deity is this way and we're turned this way. That is a problem. So when we turn away from God, then there's Ashriti. So Ashriti means we lose awareness of our own nature. Ashriti means you lose the memory of your own nature. And once you lose the memory of your own nature, viparyaya. Viparyaya means you identify with opposite your nature. That means the body. Then after that, dvitiya biniveshita. Dvitiya biniveshita means you become absorbed in all the non-essential, like this presidency in the USA, you become absorbed in that. Not in the Krishna, but in who's going to win, Trump, Biden, this, that. And then after that, bhaya, fear. You're all the time afraid. So when you get, this is our situation before Sadhu Sangha. Okay, maybe after also, but at least before Sadhu Sangha, it is definitely just because of the ignorance. But when you hear from sadhus, then you are convinced to move toward that reality. So that is Shraddha after that. But now that you have to move toward that reality, what is the techniques? When you say bhakti yoga, very general, there's so many types of bhakti, ways of applying bhakti. So you need instruction, how to apply that bhakti so that you can grow toward the goal in a very smooth and with minimum obstacles as possible. So then you require instruction for that. So that second sadhu sangha after Shraddha, I generally understand it to refer to Guru Padashraya. It refers to taking shelter of Guru and receiving instructions for how to perform the bhakti. Because right after that is bhajan kriya, right? And Srila Prabhupada, if you ever heard any of his initiation lectures, he always says initiation means the beginning of bhajan kriya. So basically, that sadhu sangha after Shraddha is Guru Padashraya. So in the beginning, there's general sadhu sangha, and then you get the Shraddha to move towards that reality. After that, you take shelter of Guru or Gurus to receive the instruction how to progress in your bhakti. So that is the distinction there.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was beautifully answered. And there's another following question in the similar lines of association. So somebody is asking that what do we do when we don't have devotee association around? That's the first part of the question. And then we are at our workplace where the association is actually pratikul to us. So we don't have enough association, and then we also have association which is not favorable to our bhakti. So how do you balance this, and what some practical tips that you have?
Yes. So for the first question, now there's Zoom, right? Or what is this called? StreamYard. So many ways to do the association now if you're not having. So that has been one of the blessings in a sense with the COVID, that a lot of sadhus have now taken to the digital universe in order to give their sangha. And so if you are interested in that, you don't have to do too much research to avail yourself to the opportunity. Otherwise, as a general, another point, if this sadhu sangha, if you come to understand just how critical it is for the actual purpose of your life, then you may just uproot your life and go to where the sadhus are. That is also a thing. If you think about how people got sangha before there was technology, they would have to literally uproot their lives. Like, sadhu is over there, I'm going to move over there to where the sadhus are available. So once we really understand the gravity of what it means to be in samsara, and that really becomes a problem to us, and we realize the superlative importance of getting proper sangha, then we may just say, you know what, I got to find an easier job elsewhere because I have to have the association of devotees. That's my answer to the first question. Otherwise, the digital universe is there. It's a little bit less intense. Otherwise, I've given more intense answer also. And as far as when you're at the workplace, so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, association means to do the 6 types of loving exchanges with affection. That is how he defines association. So for Rupa Goswami's nectar instruction, there is giving and receiving of gifts, giving and receiving of the bhoga, the prasadam. And then there's guhyam agyati prichati, giving and receiving of the confidential things in one's heart. So if one does that, those 6 things with a non-devotee, with affection, it is called as association. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that should not be done. He says sometimes in the matter of course, you have to do some of these things out of duty. But he says doing something out of duty is not called the association. It's just out of duty. So I'm going to work out of duty. I may be even participating in some small talk here and there because you feel a little duty bound. I have to say something, otherwise my coworkers may cause issue for me. So you may, out of duty you're doing, but not with the affection. But when you do those 6 things with affection, then it's called as association. So that is basically how I understand it, generally speaking. I also heard a nice thing about it. Association means to accept the same ideas of the people we associate with, or to embrace their mentality. That is called association. That is the danger when you do association, that you become like the people you associate. That means you embrace their mentality and you, in a very subtle way, embrace their concept of the world. Somehow it is transmitted to you because of just talking the same things they talk or hearing what they have to say and trying to understand it. And so that can be, those things generally devotees may try to avoid. But just engaging in a dutiful way because you have to be at the work or have some exchange, that is not called association. That is called dharma, duty. Association means with the heart. So that means with devotees also, you can do things out of duty and not because you actually like them or care. That's why I say you have to find your sangha. Otherwise, it's very difficult to grow in bhakti. Sometimes we hear the classes in a neutral spirit. So very hard to grow from that sort of hearing. But when you hear from some devotee you have a lot of affection for, then all the thing is coming inside your heart because you have the affection for them. Then your bhakti grows like anything. Paramatma will help also. So that's my answer to that.
Such wonderful, insightful answer, Prabhu. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, it makes so much sense. Association actually means accepting the ideas. It's not just all about physical association. Just like you're mentioning, we have so much association on the social media platform.
Yes.
About actually having affection and associating with the ideas, which is positive association.
I like to say on that, because with social media is particularly insidious because you can feel that you're not embracing the idea while embracing the idea. That is why sometimes the whole physical thing, don't be around them, comes up, because like when you're looking at social media, someone puts something and you put like. So then question is coming, do you accept what they say or you don't accept what they say? So, right, isn't it? Why do you like that idea? Now, from where that ideas come? From where they're coming? Are they getting that idea from Shastra or from their heart? Okay, they're getting from their heart. What is the nature of their heart? What is the concept that is fueling their heart? So you don't know any of these things, but you liked it. So why did you like? So then that is kind of addressing something in us. Why did you like that? You know, are you connecting it to something in Shastra? Well, no, I just thought it was sweet, it was cute, it was funny. So then that means subtly some associations actually taking place even without us noticing it. So that can happen. That happens all the time now with these digital universe. So one has to be very careful. Rather, we should associate with, you know, those who have the good ideas from the Shastra.
Thank you for putting that word of caution out there. Thank you. So it was such an honor to have you on the GBC Strategic Planning platform. And we hope you'll come back again to enlighten us. And thank you to all our viewers for participating so actively. We apologize. There were so many questions. Your active participation is what really makes every association really come alive, even using these technology as a medium.
Right.
Just like Jaya Jagannath Prabhu has quoted so many wonderful shastras and enlightened us today, we're going to continue with this 8-day series. And we have books are the basis of our talk as the topic of our talk tomorrow. So we're going to see how we're going to move forward into studying Srila Prabhupada's books and imbibing those teachings in our life. So please join us again tomorrow. And I thank you all. Thank you very much, Jaya Jagannath Prabhu, and thank you to all our viewers. Thank you very much.